Good morning, fans of the new network. It is James Ernest from Sarah's Playlist. We have Venrez. We are excited about having him as a guest on our show. Thank you for joining us, Ven.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here, James.
So, what music did you grow up listening to?
Yeah, see, that gives away all the secrets, I guess. Uh, I really grew up listening to the early first ever rock bands, actually. The Beatles, the Stones. Um, obviously, Hermits, Dave Clark Five, and the Monkees. None of those bands really did anything for me. But like with Jefferson Airplane and Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, The Doors, Led Zeppelin all hit the door. They all kind of came out. It was just this fantastic musical revelation. But I think I was about 9 years old when I heard, first heard radio, and I Want to Hold Your Hand by the Beatles and Painted Black were like the big hits at the time. I am that old, unfortunately. Even though
Yeah, I
I
was gonna
don't
say
look
it's
at.
it's funny. You definitely don't look it. That's what I was thinking. I was like, "Yeah, this guy's like my age. Why is he talking about songs that are that old? They must have been listening to the oldie station or something when he was growing up."
Yeah, it's kind of for some very odd reason, I still look about 45, man.
Yeah.
But I turned 69 years old in January, actually. And the whole story is pretty interesting. And the band started late. It kind of like was a hobby I put together at 54, and I knew a lot of famous musicians, and they booked a show in Hollywood, which I didn't want to do. I thought I was too old to front a rock band at 54. And I had some famous players in the band. My guitar player, Jason Womack, he's my backing vocalist, and he writes the music. I write the lyrics.
Mhm.
I'd been in Juliette Lewis and the Licks for 3 years, and we had brought in Ed Davis on drums, who also had been in Juliette Lewis and the Licks. So they kind of tricked me and booked a show, and which I didn't want to do, but I did it for fun. And the next thing I knew, I was on tour with Alice Cooper / Buck Cherry, and we blew up.
Oh
Never
wow.
expect. I just never expected that to happen. So I did my first tour at 55. So nobody's really started that late and seen the success that I have in my career, thanks to God. And even streaming television is just finished filming a documentary on me and the band, just because of the message it sends that,
Mhm.
it's never too late to live your dreams.
Oh, definitely. That is phenomenal. I mean, dude, that's great to hear that, shoot, people out there can be inspired by you.
But they think they will be. I'm kind of a humble guy, but so far, we never got we have like 4 indie records out, and we were with Pavement Entertainment for a few years. The last EP, Purgatory Awaits, was with them, and we recently signed with Pepper Gomez and Wake Up Music Rocks, and recorded the new EP, as you know, Sip the Cup. And that single went to radio on February 20th, and the music video's out. And so I was, like 66 before we ever had anything go to radio, And Show Me Off, the last record, hit #2 on ESMR, and Each and Every Day was the second single, which hit #17. And so I'm real excited to see how the singles being released off this new EP are going to do on radio. But it is an interesting story because most people my age are retired fishing a river. They can't see the tip of their shoes because they got Dunlap disease or something like
That's awesome that, shoot, you're doing such great and fun things at this point in your life. How did you learn to play? Did you learn early in life, or was this a recent thing that where you
that.
learned?
Yeah, no, my parents put me into piano lessons when I was like 9. And then I picked up the clarinet, which I was playing, and I ended up playing in the junior high school band. I even played it in the high school band as well. And so I was introduced to musical instruments at a very, very young age. And when I was 17, and my dad bought me my first guitar, which I think was a 72 American-made Ovation guitar. They made them in Connecticut at the time, and I still have that guitar.
Oh, cool.
Along with, I like Martins, so I have quite a few Martins. And when I play guitar, I pretty much play acoustic, electric guitars. Although that guitar has to be mic'd if I ever play it, because they didn't have plug-in electric acoustic guitars until '76. So I haven't been playing any instruments on stage with my band. We're kind of like an Aerosmith thing.
Oh, cool.
Where I'm fronting the band.
Mm-hmm.
And Steven Tyler plays great piano and other instruments, but you don't really see him do it in an Aerosmith concert. But I might do it at some point in the future if we blow up bigger and headline here. We do headline in Europe and the UK. We've toured over there pretty extensively. I might at some point when we have a long enough set, send the boys backstage for 15 and grab a 12 or 6 string Martin, plug it in, and bang out a couple and sing a couple by myself, like Chris Cornell used to do.
Well, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I might do it. I put a video up once of me playing a song I really liked that hasn't made any of our records. And all my friends and fans were kind of shocked, like, "Oh my God, you play?" A lot of people don't understand that, singers are musicians.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us play a lot of instruments, whether we're playing in the band or not. The first time I saw Mick Jagger come out with a guitar, that completely blew my mind. So I figured, maybe I would hold off for a while before I disclose that part of me to my fans. But they really, really loved it. Although that was like 5 years ago, so I haven't done it in a while.
Exactly. Make it like a special occasion kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Connecting with fans, with the band and all that powerful music going out and the fans' reactions coming back is, well, I think keep talking about the Stones, but they're a good example. I mean, Mick Jagger's 80 years old. I mean, he's still touring. I mean, they're about to do another tour behind their new record, and he certainly doesn't need the money, right? So, it's that addictive feeling up there. Although I'd like to try it one day all by myself, with an acoustic guitar. I mean, if you go back to not the original Woodstock, but the second one in the '90s, and you watch Bush, their set, because I really admire that band and Gavin. He's there in front of tens and tens of thousands of people, and he's got his shirt off and he's up in front of the stage, and it's just him with an electric acoustic guitar, and he plays Glycerine solo, and that sends shiver down my spine. If any of the people listening to the show have not seen that, you should really check out Glycerine by Bush at Woodstock, because that is a very special performance.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, I'd like to experience that. Just me and the audience. That'll happen someday.
Nice. So how'd you meet Jason back in 2009?
Well, I had done some managing of bands early on. I got one of them a real big record deal, and I became very close friends with the singer-songwriter Tommy Johnson. And I was, I had gone through a divorce and I was single, and we'd been friends for a number of years. So he moved in as a roommate for a while. He had a lot to do with helping me break into songwriting from poetry writing. And we had a huge patio and he wanted to build. So let's just build a tiki bar, because, he made a lot of tiki bars for rich people in LA. So the next thing I knew, he had a crew of guys helping him build this tiki bar. And one of them was Jason Womack, because everybody in Juliette Lewis and the Licks at the time quit the band and started Petty Cash, which is a pretty famous band that does Johnny Cash and Tom Petty songs.
Oh, cool.
And so Jason, when I found out who he was, he started playing guitar and I started singing with him, because I was already, I had bought a PA when I came home from work. I would plug in a playlist, right? And I'd just sing and dance around for an hour and sing to it. And Jason was really surprised by my vocals. So we shook hands and decided we were going to make music together. And that's how it all started. We're still together. That was
awesome.
That was like 2009. So we've been harmonizing together and writing songs together for almost 14 years now.
What is epic alt rock and how did you create it?
Yeah. Well, you know what? There's no question we created a new genre. And, when you're a new band on the rise, they compare you, like Greta Van Fleet gets compared to Led Zeppelin, that kind of thing. And Andy Dick, the comedian, is a good friend of mine, and he had a TV show running out of a gallery in Beverly Hills, and I was on that TV show. And then he had a chef who prepared food for everybody. Craig Victor, who's a really talented chef. And, they all would come to some of my shows. And one day after the show, he's like, do you know what genre you are? And I'm like, no, we're just rock and roll. And he goes, you're epic alternative rock. And I thought to myself, you know what? You're right, man. It is, but not today's alternative. We're kind of like an epic 90s meets 2024, melodic rock band. So, today alternative rock is very different than what it was at that particular time. But I think we have kind of a 70s to 90s to current sound. It kind of blends together. So when he said epic alternative rock, I'm like, wow, that's a really good name for that. So thank you, Craig. I kind of took that from him. We get compared to Alice in Chains a lot, because of the two-part harmonies. My vocal range is very similar to Lane Staley and Chris Cornell. My baritone is probably more similar to Jim Morrison. And so, I think we have. And, as bands create new genres, they open doors for other bands to spin off of, like Jesus and Mary Chain brought you Tool and a number of other bands, and, so on and so forth, And you look at the 90s breakout of all those, what they call the grunge bands, But I think other than the late 60s and the early to mid 70s, not to take anything away from the 80s bands, I don't think they brought the quality of music that the 60s, 70s bands did, and the 90s bands definitely did. The 80s seemed to be more about looking like a girl and writing stupid lyrics. I don't really care for very much of it. Although you can't take the success away from it. And, you know, the music was big music, big hair, all that stuff. And, you know, a lot of bands came out of that particular period. Although, you know, when you hear Nirvana and Stone Temple Pilots and Alice in Chains and Pearl Jam and Soundgarden, you know,
Mhm.
Temple of the Dog and Audio Slave, you know, in my opinion, that revitalized rock and roll. And right now, rock and roll really needs to be revitalized again. I hope I can be a part of that because it's got depressive and boring, a lot of it.
Exactly. You guys are definitely moving in the right direction. Like you said, that new album of yours, Sipping the Cup, I mean, is just phenomenal.
Thank
And
you.
and it's just been a pleasure listening to it.
Yeah, I'm
Welcome.
glad you like it. That was the first record we had a real, you know, Jason had produced everything. We try to keep everything on a lower budget. You know, you don't have a record deal and you're paying for everything yourself. You kind of get limited. But you know, this time around, Malcolm Springer, um, he's out of Nashville. You know, Tantric, Matchbox 20, Collective Soul. I mean, he even mixed a hit for Kanye West. So the guy that's produced and, you know, engineers, mixes, but, you know, he's got over 20 hit records. And I love Jason. I love our previous albums. So I think Malcolm Springer really took our music to another level. I have to give him a lot of credit for it.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, when you have an opportunity to work with somebody like that, you definitely take it. Yeah, because I was wondering if that was the thing. Was Jason doing it out of necessity? It sounds like at first, and then having the opportunity to work with Malcolm, I mean, was just huge.
Yeah, I think, you know, Jason, you know, kind of a combination, maybe a little bit lesser so out of necessity. I mean, obviously, yeah, you
I
know,
mean, he did a great job on the other album.
yeah,
So
he really did. Although at some point, you know, lawyers don't represent themselves, and open heart surgeons don't operate on themselves. So I
exactly.
think, you know, at some point you got to turn it to a producer, and you know, we needed a new record deal with a label that would do more for us and pay for a lot of things, you know, which would make things a lot easier to move ahead much more quickly to the
Mhm.
masses. And, you know, so part of the agreement management had kind of set up with them was we deliver a record produced by Malcolm Springer. And so,
Nice.
and Jason knew that. So he wasn't super thrilled about it, but, you know, he's super thrilled with how it came out, you know.
Definitely. And as a professional, I'm sure he understood.
Yeah, well, we weren't going to get that record deal unless Malcolm produced it. And no offense to Jason, because he's a genius. I call him the professor. You know, there's no question that he is, and he did a super job. Although Malcolm rearranged everything and he just made the songs better. And they would have been great had Jason produced it. Although they went to a completely different level with Malcolm Springer producing it. So everybody's happy. And that's the most important thing, you know. He was effortless to work with. You know, when the music was done, I just flew back to Nashville for a week and did the vocals with him. And we just did it all out of his home studio, you
Nice.
know, at his house, which is how I'm used to doing it anyway, because I have a studio in my house. So I think every record except for the first couple were pretty much recorded between Jason's studio at his house and my studio at my house. Right over there's that SM7 mic over here
Oh,
behind
cool.
the screen. I have a whole recording studio in here.
Nice.
And so, you know, that was you know, for years, and about five, you know, five, let's see, six, you know, so like, you know, four of the past six records that we recorded, I had recorded them all on that mic in my own home studio. So So being in Malcolm's home studio was, as opposed to a regular studio, being in a vocal booth, that was really quite natural and what I was very used to doing. Excuse me. So it made it a very flawless, easy process. You know? Except, yeah, he was much more demanding of me vocally than Jason was. I mean, by the time we were done, I couldn't even talk anymore. I mean, especially the third track, "Who You Foolin'," the chorus in that thing is it's got some vocal stretching, and it's not a big deal to play it live, but you know, when you sing that track 20 times,
yeah,
take your vocal,
oh yeah,
your
the
vocal
repetition.
cords apart, rip your vocal cords apart. You know, kind of that's like really strains your voice if you got to sing it that many times.
So it sounds like it's been the right choice signing up with Wake Up Music Group.
No question about it. You know, Pepper Gomez knows what she's doing. She's created a label that's very successful in its own right. You know, they have some acts that are really doing well. You know, they also do EDM and represent DJs, and you know, they have different divisions. We're Wake Up Music Rocks, and you know, she's in that record company they're really doing some great things for us, and they're doing things for us we've never had done for us before. And so my dream is obviously that we can blow up to headline status here in the United States, hopefully by 2025. And I can help take that label to to another level. You know, I'd really like to do that because I'm very loyal to those who believe in me and in my band, my projects. You know, she is the first one to put her money where her mouth is, which means a lot.
And like you said, you already have experienced such great highs in Europe. I mean, that has been a phenomenal response from those fans. So it only makes sense that the fans of the United States will come on board as well.
Well, we've toured the United States quite a bit. We spent like 4 straight years overseas. And we headlined in Europe and the UK, you know, so we spent a lot of time over there. I think it might have been a mistake looking back at it because the US is a bigger market. But, you know, our first USA tour, our first 2 tours were to Europe and the UK with LA Guns, you know, Tracy Guns, who's a great guitar player. Started Guns N' Roses actually with Axl. And our first USA tour was with Fuel. And on that tour, we actually played the Super Bowl Village show for 80,000, you know, in Indianapolis in 2012. And then we went out on tour that summer with Alice Cooper. And then the next summer, we toured with Slash and Miles Kennedy. Which was 2013. Then we went back to Europe with Buck Cherry and Hardcore Superstore for a massive Euro tour. That began in December 2013 and ended in January 2014. And then we continued after that to primarily be in Europe until 2019. And obviously last summer when we toured again with Buck Cherry, although it was the United States.
So Sip the Cup has recently dropped the single. When does the rest of the EP drop?
When we have a tour booked.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, you know, I mean, if you just, it doesn't make sense to drop a record or EP without a tour book behind it.
Makes sense.
If you do that, that's a really big mistake because you lose the firepower of it. So you know, it's like a 12-week radio promotion. So it went to radio on the 20th. So on the first week, we were fifth on the SMR most added, and third on the media-based chart for most added. So I think, you know, it'll probably do well on radio. And then they'll release the second single, which I believe will be Cross the Line. And if we have a tour booked and all that, they'll release that, the record, and we'll do the tour. If not, they'll release Who You Foolin' as, I believe, as a third single, and then it'll all happen then. So I think the likelihood is, you know, 2 singles to radio and then drop the record and tour probably very early June on is what I'm thinking is going to happen.
So what's the symbolism behind Sip the Cup?
Well, I write about life experiences to teach. You know, I have fantasy songs about the hot girl you want that you never can get, things like that. You know, I take shots at tyranny and political jabs at government, things of that particular nature. War Machine on this record would be a part of it. And so the Sip the Cup is kind of like, you know, I watched the movie 300, you know, about Sparta and the Persians, and then, you know, modern warfare. You know, like, I just detest war and senseless death. You know, so Sip the Cup is about ancient battles, and this particular man, me, who keeps being reincarnated into that, who then becomes a singer, right, in the rock band. And so it's comparing ancient war and the brutality of that. Yeah. Wind carries the scent of bodies bent, you know, which to me is just piles of soldiers dead, slashed with swords or shot with arrows. And in the video, then you see kind of modern warfare. And so we shot my parts here at my house in Las Vegas, and we used AI for everything else, mainly because the band just really wasn't available and was Show Me off the last record. You know, it was a performance video, so we felt all we needed was me in it. But in the AI, you know, it'll be me, and then it'll be an AI guy that kind of looks like me, but he's a little bit different. Mm-hmm. Because the chorus says, you know, can't use me in your schemes, repeating all these things as different beings. So you've got 3 things going on. You've got ancient warfare, modern warfare, and somebody stuck in the middle of it all and participated in some of it, reincarnating and facing a lot of the same things in one life after another. So that song, you know, has 3 different aspects of meaning to it.
So did Hollywood cinematographer Dominique do a good job of capturing your vision?
You know, I don't have a lot of talent for capturing vision on music videos. It's funny because I'm a documentary filmmaker, so when it comes to feature filmmaking, I'm very talented at that too. You know, I have another career in filmmaking. And I've produced some pretty powerful documentary films for streaming television. So I just kind of went with it. I like his vision. Pepper really liked it. You know, as an artist, sometimes it's just really hard to judge your product. You know, some are really good at it, some of them aren't. I mean, the Rolling Stones thought Satisfaction was a throwaway album track. It's one of their top 3 hits of all time. So you kind of want to leave things people are better at than you to their accord. I think Dominic did a super job with it. But I'm so humble, you know. I wasn't quite sure how people were going to do, but I think it hit 143,000 views in a week. So I guess people like it.
Yeah. That's phenomenal. So it sounds like there's some great stuff going on. 2024 sounds like it's going to be big. 2025 sounds like it's going to even be bigger. Ben, it has been a pleasure having you on the show. talking about Venrez. Thank you for. Oh, before we let you go, we're on social media. We're on the web. Where can we?
The best thing to do is go to our website first. Venrez, Venrez. You want to call it Venrez, you can. But VenrezTheBand.com. Sign up for the email list you want. That way you're informed about everything. We're Venrez, Venrez, on Instagram, Venrez21 on Twitter. And then I'm now doing a streaming live show on Kick.com. I'll be having a show at noon with Brian Glenn from Brian Glenn TV at noon Pacific time. And on Wednesday, the fabulous Don Teschner from Rod Stewart will be on my show. So you might want to go to Kick.com and follow Venrez, Venrez. And on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, we do a live streaming show. I get confused with Howard Stern a lot, which is extremely annoying. I figured if everybody's going to think I'm Howard Stern till they figure out who I really am, I might as well have my own live streaming show and take a different angle on it. And so I'm real happy about that. We started out about a month ago, and that's been pretty successful. So Kick.com. Follow Venrez and watch our shows. And of course, on Facebook, the Venrez fan page is there. We have quite a following. So thanks for allowing me to put those plugs in there, James.
Hey, it's my pleasure. We've enjoyed having you on the show, and down the road, we'd love to have you back on.
I would love to be on your show anytime in the future. Thank you so much. Maybe next time a little bit later in the day. That